Thursday is so quickly becoming my favorite day of the week. We are now are going live in our Speakers and Coaches Networking Society. We're also going live over on LinkedIn and Instagram and YouTube, all the different channels. I'm going to check. I'm going to do a check to see if we are live. I see something. We're having trouble streaming to your destination. So that would be the Speakers and Coaches.
And my Facebook group too. Got the same thing.
So I'm just going to remove that one for now.
Yep.
And I just removed. And let's see, I'm going to see if we are on Instagram then. So let's see if we're live in Instagram. Oh, I don't see Instagram. So I'm going to go over to LinkedIn and see about LinkedIn. I don't know. We did this. We know that, well, I see a check there. So I have a feeling it's delayed, but I have a feeling LinkedIn is working.
It was very delayed.
Oh, it's here.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is working. And now I'm going to check YouTube. So it looks like YouTube's working. So it's amazing that we can use all of these platforms at the same time. So we want to welcome everyone as they're joining in. This is our very first time streaming across the board. And then Patricia and I are both streaming at the same time. So thank you for your patience with us. I am Wendy Blum-Weiss. And we call this the Speakers and Coaches Networking Meetup because we bring on expert speakers, coaches, authors to be spotlighted here in our communities. And so I'm going to pass the mic over to Patricia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia Wooster, and Wendy and I are partners, and we are testing out StreamYard, and we are so excited to start bringing some of our authors and speakers and coaches together and starting to get to know everyone. So you're going to start seeing more of this, and we'll start giving people more notice and using more technology so we can all interact. So we're just excited to get this going.
All right, I started with plan. Now I was able to grab my mic. So we have to think through all the different things. You know, it's interesting. The first time you do anything in today in our academy and all month long, we're talking about becoming a professional speaker. And there are so many things to remember, certainly when you do it the first time, the 10th time, the 20th time, it takes a long time for things to kick in so that they're automatic. It always makes me think of that being unconsciously incompetent to being consciously incompetent. And then it slowly works into them becoming consciously competent. So that's where we're hoping to get to. We got a ways for that, but we're hoping to get there. And then we're unconsciously competent. And then we're just rolling with that. So that's going to be us a year from now, but right now, when there are a lot of moving pieces, we're just integrating the moving pieces. And I want to welcome Shauna and thank Shauna so much for being here. And Shauna, you come from the digital world, and this wouldn't even be happening today if you didn't help us behind the scenes. We all need somebody that has actually walked that path before us so that they can peel back the curtain and that they can show us. You were able to help me sync up the audio with the mic and all the things. So welcome. We're so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you share a little bit about your background and how it is that you know so much about technology?
Yeah. Well, so I have a background in serving and helping Fortune 500 companies, sales organizations grow, as well as I've co-founded some tech startups and worked in blockchain as well. And I also have sort of a parallel path that goes along with that in neuroscience, epigenetics, and also studying the gut microbiome, which is becoming quite trendy these days and also very important. And the reason why you could say I'm quite familiar with how to manage just technology and chaos and audio not working is because I don't really have a permanent home office. Some of the time I work from a sailboat, other times I work from cafes or wherever I am in the world. And so I've had to learn to be pretty resilient and flexible with figuring out like a lot of these things on the fly. So that's how I was able to help you, and happy to help anytime. And I think like you said, it's what is it? Consciously competent and consciously incompetent. You know, when we're just doing things on the fly, and if it's new to us, sometimes we can get tripped up and get nervous, as we all well know. And then after a while, it's just like muscle memory.
I think so many people so many entrepreneurs go into overwhelm because they're trying to figure
Yeah.
out all the things by themselves. Like, so Patricia and I, as you know, we
Yeah.
help entrepreneurs, experts write their books and leverage their books. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know when you get started. A lot of people try to muscle things, or they watch YouTube videos. I can only imagine if I just tried to watch YouTube videos yesterday to be able to go, like, it shortened what would be like weeks, maybe not, it wouldn't even happen, just being really frustrated to having a really smooth like transition with somebody that already knows how to do it. And that's a really great example of that, because you were able in less than like 45 minutes, it wasn't even that, like 30, 40 minutes, show me all these different tips that were so incredibly valuable. I think I probably would have had to watch like 5 or 6 YouTube videos and not even get the good ones, and still not even have one screen open and trying to figure out on another screen. And then, you know, all of a sudden I'd be super agitated. It would affect my whole day, and it would affect all of my work.
I hear you. Yeah. And I think for me personally, that's sort of like the power of community, right? That's why I'm so happy to be part of this community and collaborating and working with you both, is because, like you always say, everything we need is right here amongst us. And I found that every time I've had a question, or I needed something, or I just mentioned something in passing, somebody in our community would raise their hand or DM me or send a message like, hey, can we connect? And can I help you with this? Or vice versa type of thing. So I think there's a lot of power in that, just on so many levels, and even from like a neuroscientific standpoint, and helping to promote oxytocin and feel good feelings, and not trip us up for our whole day. And because that can easily happen, as we well know.
Oh,
Well, it's all
speaking
about
of,
stacking your genius, right? Is not
Exactly.
trying to be a genius or an expert in everything. And so what I realized, and I didn't really think about it at first, even though I was going through that same struggle, is when you decide to go into business for yourself in particular, even if it's a side hustle, right? You think the big decision was to go into business, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm gonna go consult, or I'm gonna do this thing that I'm so passionate about, right? And you think that's the big decision. But then what you don't realize is how you thought you would spend your day as a new entrepreneur is not usually how you get to spend it. You don't get to spend it doing the thing that you love, that you wanted to serve the community with, right? You
That
end
is
with
true.
admin, right? Trying to figure out systems and processes, realizing that you're the person that does everything now. And I think that's why so many entrepreneurs new ones get frustrated, especially if they're coming from corporate,
Oh yeah.
because they're used to having the resources, right? Because
a
there's somebody
team.
with a title, right? Yeah, they have a title for it. And now you have to turn on a different muscle in your head of, it doesn't have to be me. You know I'm operating as a new business person with less financial resources, usually when you're starting.
Yeah.
And also, it's not obvious who the person is that needs to do it. So you either have to build a community where you give so that you can receive, or pay somebody, right, that it's their genius. And I think that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck, and they say, I don't like this entrepreneur stuff. It's because they're in the tech and admin mode, and that's not their thing. I mean, if their tech thing is their thing, it's different.
Absolutely.
I want to jump in there for a moment and say, Kathy Binner, if you can turn your camera on, we'll bring you up on stage. We have people that are in the listening lounge here over on live stream. Well, there she is. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring Kathy up. Hey,
Hi,
Kathy.
Kathy.
Hi, how are you?
Amazing to have you here. And you've been in our community for a number of years now. And you also run a lot of communities. So we'd love to put the spotlight on you and share all of your brilliance and genius. You've been listening in, so we'd love to hear your take on our conversation.
Well, I love everything that you're doing. I think the biggest takeaway for me from this conversation is it's okay for it to be messy when you get started. It's okay. All of us that created anything at all, it was always messy at the beginning until we got more clarity on how we wanted to do it or where we wanted to take our programs and our offers and our products. And with Patricia, with book writing, boy, those first drafts are always messy. So I guess the biggest takeaway is that it's just okay to be messy to get started.
That's great. You want to talk a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I have the Kathy Benner International Academy, and I am a passive income mentor. And just like we were talking, when I first started, I was going to be this big coach and I was going to do one-on-one coaching and I was going to make all this money. And I discovered I just really didn't want to work that hard. I'm at my retirement age and we're trying to travel more. And it doesn't take long for your calendar to get totally booked up with one-on-ones. And so within the first year, I made a segue to start a membership site and to bring more value to more folks by doing what I like to call group coaching, which then turned into more of group mentoring. I have a lot of folks that come on board and we talked about, what we don't know. I have folks that have come on board that know a lot more than I do in certain areas, and then I know more than they do in other areas. And through Wendy's example, and Wendy, I have to give you kudos for this. In Wendy's example, I discovered within the year or two of me starting my programs that collaboration was the way to go. And so now I collaborate. And because of Wendy's original meetup where I first met her on Clubhouse, I have actually chosen several co-mods and co-hosts out of that Clubhouse room. And so, Wendy, my hat is off to you. My business is where it is today because of your example.
Well, thank you so much for that. And here's what I want to say back to you. You are always you have such a high level of awareness. You're always in gratitude. You walk the talk. And I think that that's what we're looking for. That's why we wanted to really be transparent, that we didn't have to have all the bells and whistles in here, because when we see that, then what it does, it can be really intimidating. And knowing you as long as I do, like even when I produce events, which I've done events for a lot of years, when I heard this one message from one of the very first speakers I ever heard, and I was thinking about becoming a speaker, and that whole idea around the word mess is in the word message, and that people connect with you at a deeper level because we go from our thinking mind into our heart. And you mentioned the neuroscience, Jonna. And so it's so easy to release cortisol, like when we're all stressed, right?
Yeah.
But when we're connected, that we drop from our head to our heart. It's heart coherence. There's actually a company, Heart Math, that has studied this for many, many years. And when we are just ourselves, and you're always giving credit to other people. And you are one of those people that goes the extra mile, like in everything that you do. So you are a role model to all of us. It's a boomerang universe, like what we
Yes.
see, what we share, like what we get back, and you can't outgive. You cannot outgive the universe. So it's truly an
Wow.
honor, really, to be here with all of you. And anybody that is listening, leave a comment. We'd love to invite you on, and we would love to spotlight you. If you've been with us and involved in this listening to this conversation to this point, we know that you're part of our tribe, and we want to know you. When Patricia and I first met, so this is also through a Clubhouse, is the thing about Clubhouse, you don't have video, right? So you get to hear someone's voice. So you more connect to the cadence and the rhythm and the tone of their voice. And I had been looking for many, many, many years for a book partner. I'd been writing books and I'd been helping people publish books and leverage their books. But I knew that that was not my wheelhouse, right? Like I was okay at it, I was good at it, but I was looking for a partner where that was their zone of genius. And when I heard Patricia, there was just something inside of me that said, like, she's the one. And I had talked to quite a few other potential people to collaborate with, as you were saying, Kathy, collaboration. And then we collaborated, and then you test things, right? You're like, okay, let's partner together, let's test. So we did a co-author book together. That was our first co-author book. Kathy, you were part of that. And we had 22 co-authors. So that's a lot. And we did a lot with the co-authors, and we were just trying to get in sync together. And it was on a 1 to 10. The experience was, I mean, just for me, and like what the feedback that we've gotten was like an 8, 9, or 10. Like it was a very positive experience. As you know, like so many of our co-authors have gone on to do multiple books with us, and you're in all of our books. So you've been in this one will be number 4. No, actually number 3.
Yeah, for me, this is number 3. Yes.
Number 3. Okay, number 3, right? So 3 out of 4 books that Patricia and I have done together over the last few years. And so, Patricia, can you talk a little bit about the power of collaboration?
Well, it's interesting because I had always thought of myself as somebody who was that I preferred to just rely on myself. You know, I'd been in corporate and have had like always did better with a quota. Like I knew I would get my stuff done, but then when there was a team, sometimes it kind of fell apart or somebody quit or whatever. And then what happened with Clubhouse, because I'm actually an introvert and I was doing one-on-one book coaching up until then, and it was all referral. Like if you look at my social media before Clubhouse, there's hardly any. And what it is it's very pathetic. And so it really was all referral based. And then, you know, I heard somebody invited, like one of my old coaches actually invited me on Clubhouse. And I'm like, well, what the hell? Because my thinking was, these are people all over the world. They're never going to see me. I'm not going to see them. If I don't like it or if I say something screwy, then I'll just delete the app. It's not a big deal. It didn't seem real, you know, because we were all like dime-sized photo, like Wendy said. So I just went in, I kind of listened around, and then I was like, I went into book rooms and people were getting terrible advice. So I just said, I saw somebody else on there who had written a lot of books, Stray Baldwin, who a lot of people know. And I said, hey, you want to do a room together? And we'll just do Q&A, you know, like we're not going to prepare anything. Well, we ended up doing that for almost 2 years, every Tuesday and Thursday. And some of them went hours. In fact, I was in a room once that went 10 hours. And different people came in, you know, and helped moderate things like that. But we just delivered value. We just answered the same. And then we started bringing in a PR person and a marketing person and like different people around the book thing. And I was like, this is really cool. But at the time, it was still like people couldn't really message you outside of that. It was the beginning of the app, and you had like Instagram connected. But as soon as like I linked my Instagram to it because I didn't even do it in the beginning. I started getting my calendar started filling up with all these, because I used to just have my calendar just sitting on my website. Anyone could get on my calendar. Like I had no guardrails around it. And I'd be on calls like people all over the world, right? And some of it's, you know, kind of junk. But what happened was I was like, wow, there's something to this, right? And so then I was like, okay, what other mixes of people can I do things with? Like whatever expertise can I match together to fill gaps where I can kind of answer the question, but I'm not like the best person for it. And so it was so powerful. And I also saw other people starting to do these things too, right? You'd see a room and that happened every week, and it might be on holistic medicine, and it'd be like 5 people, and it was the same 5 people for it. And it was so powerful. And, you know, Wendy and I feel we were really destined to be, because the fact that we met on a global app, people all over the world, right? And we're only 4 hours apart. We're in the same state. Then my son, this was like so coincidental because it had never been discussed before, decided to go to college right down the street from where she lives. So then I have a reason to go, and see her and have coffee and those kind of things. And so it was really organic. And like she said, we tested projects and things. But the other thing too is because Wendy has taken the time to build her YouTube channel and to build Facebook groups and build public communities, you don't even have to join them, that you can witness. There was so much trust there. And that is what I've really learned from Wendy. And these other things too, is it's not always about getting clients or getting a reaction on that post. It's the history of it all. Because right now, just think about it. Anytime you're getting ready to get into business with somebody, or if somebody books on your calendar or somebody's name comes up in conversation, where do you go? I go on LinkedIn. I'm going to look you up in England. You're going to see that I checked out your profile, right? You're going to start poking around. And somebody without a history or somebody that hasn't been giving back is probably not my people, unless there's a reason for it. And so I think this whole community aspect is so powerful. And that's why we want to start giving a voice to the people that have been kind of like in the audience or supporting us or all those kind of things, and get everyone else's expertise out there, because you're going to start seeing really cool like connections take place of people doing stuff together. So it's a long way to answer your question.
I'm so excited about doing this again, right? Because for years we've held, or I've held these networking meetups, and the format would be that we would feature our community members and give them the microphone, and they could speak for 5 minutes. And because I've always done the live events, and then 4 years ago, then we all went all virtual. I had always done virtual, but certainly not to the level where you're doing all virtual, right? And then no live events. And you know what? In the beginning, I guess I'm still surprised how many amazing human beings there are that are so talented and so generous. And yet, literally, to hand them a mic is an honor. It's truly an honor to hear, like, Jonna, getting to know you. And we're all connected. So Rachel, who came in one of our book projects, came from Sue Zaida, who came from the speakers and coaches. So if you follow, like you follow the seed, right? You follow the seed. And I love doing that, the history, and say, where did it start? Where was the very first seed in that? But great people are everywhere. They're all around the world. Our speakers community, which we haven't quite yet built over on LinkedIn. I know we're live over here on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn, we are so passionate about you. Like, we know how powerful you are, and that there are amazing people that are on LinkedIn that are not on Facebook and that are not on other social media channels. So if you're watching this, please leave a comment so we know, we're just figuring it out. And we want to be really completely transparent about all the ins and outs and what works and definitely what doesn't work, because we learned so much from our mistakes. So we said that we'd keep this short and sweet today, that we were going to go right on, the half of the hour. It's 11:30 now. So Vivian, thank you so much for being here with us. You've been in the listening lounge. And so now for next Thursday, we're going to make sure to get you all set up with your camera so that we can have you on stage, because Vivian is joining us from the Philippines, and she's a broadcaster, and she has got such a dynamic personality, and the way that her whole emphasis is all about having a conversation, right? So it doesn't feel like something that's teachy or someone's talking, at you, that you feel like they're talking with you. So we love your message, Vivian. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. Jonna, thank you for making this happen.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
A rock star. Kathy, you just say yes to everything. Well, not everything, but things that are important that matter. And you are the most gracious role model ever. And thank you for the calendar.
Well,
Thank
and
you.
I do want to say one thing. I teach my students to choose some other mentors and coaches that you can support, and support that other person or persons without expecting anything in return. And I have chosen you, Wendy and Patricia. And so I share that within my group, that, you know, you can't spread yourself too thin and support a lot of other folks, but choose some folks that you can support and be there for them, because this is a boomerang. And so you'll have folks, it may not be the same folks, but you'll have folks then that'll come alongside you and support you. And you're not going to get that support unless you give that support first.
Yeah, and who doesn't need passive income, by the way? And you're the rock star with real estate and all these real estate groups, all the things that you do. It's really amazing. And Patricia, thank you so much for everything, right? Like all the things that we're doing, and we're having fun.
It's
That's a
so
whole
much
piece too.
fun.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. And I really can't wait to do the one-on-one podcasts. You know, we had our first one last week with Wendy Shore, and it was a lot of fun. And I also think what came from that too was the like the behind the scenes, you know, is sharing the messy middle and kind of what works, what doesn't work. And it's so interesting because we're all so united on all of those things, you know, when you start talking to people who, you know, looks like they've got it all together, and then they tell you how hard it was to get there. And so that's a lot of fun. So we're very excited also to start the podcast up and everything again as well.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.